Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. Today, we're going to be looking at French philosophers. Another philosopher that I have brought to your attention today is Jean Jaques Rosseau. Let's get started. Who was Jean Jaques Rousseau? He was a philosopher, writer, and composer of Swiss origin, whose works later had a profound impact on political philosophy, education, and social thoughts. His writings challenged established societal norms, advocating for liberty, equality, and democracy. He argued that the structures of civilization, rather than enhancing human potential, often corrupted individuals and limited their freedom. He fundamentally had a belief in the inherent goodness of human beings. His ideas not only laid the foundation for the French Revolution, but also influenced generations of political thinkers, shaping the evolution of modern democracy and socialist thought. So let's look more into the context at his time. So Rousseau lived during the 18th century, and this time was during the Enlightenment era. This era characterized the emphasis on reason, science, and the questioning of traditional authorities. But while many philosophers at the time, like Voltaire and Montesquieu, who we may talk about in future videos, focused on rationality and the reconstructing of political institutions, Rousseau's focus was very unique. He believed that human beings were inherently good in their natural state, but were gradually corrupted by societal structures such as government, property ownerships, and social hierarchy. He instead contended that civilization imposed artificial constraints on individuals, leading to inequality and moral decline, and said that instead of all this, we should have an egalitarian state, a more natural state in which all humans can be good according to their natural state. And Rousseau's critique of contemporary society really distinguished him from many of his Enlightenment peers who, although kind of questioned political authorities at the time, did not just completely, in a very revolutionary fashion, blow it all away. While thinkers like John Locke advocated for structural governance rooted in individual rights, Rousseau envisioned a society where all people would get to reclaim their natural freedoms through a collective and democratic order. And this was very, very different. He was kind of questioning all traditional authorities, challenging already existing and established for hundreds of years political, societal, and religious institutions that ruled France at the time. One of the most famous works out there, his most influential works, is called The Social Contract. This was written in 1762, and this put forth the radical idea that political legitimacy does not stem from monarchs or ruling elites, but from the collective goodwill of the people. He proposed that just government should be based on the general will of the people, of the collective will, instead of individual interest according to who is up in the social economic ladder. And so he proposed a government that was based on the general rule, the common good. One of the most famous quotes I have here is, "Man is born free, and everywhere he is in chains." And this statement encapsulates his belief that although humans are naturally free, societal structures like class divisions and authoritarian rule shackle these individuals and hinder their ability to live in harmony. And so, while humans are born free and born good, these society around them, the civilization around them corrupts them, makes it harder for them to be good according to their state, and instead he envisions a more egalitarian society based on the collective, the general good of the people based on their will. And Rousseau's social contract theory really argued that true freedom is achieved when individuals voluntarily submit to a governance that reflects their collective desires. Unlike absolute monarchy, which imposed rules from above, Rousseau's model of democracy was rooted in direct participation by the people. His views on equality and governance later became an inspiration for revolutionary movements, particularly the French Revolution. This influenced a lot of political thought, even through modern democracy. His advocacy of government that reflects the general will influenced the architects of French Revolution, such as Robespierre, and later it would influence democratic theorists like Karl Marx. And his critique of social inequality just proved an ideological foundation by which many communist and socialist movements were founded in their emphasis on collective ownership and class struggles. Another of his most famous works, and this was kind of an extension beyond political theory into a revolutionized educational philosophy, was in Emile, or On Education. In this treatise, he proposes a really naturalistic approach to learning, and this is a theme that we see very often, a naturalistic, free education slash politics by which people can live according to their instincts instead of being confined by very rigid institutions. And it was the same with education. He believed that children, just like adults in government, should be allowed to develop in accordance with their instincts and personal experiences rather than being confined by rigid schooling systems. And so he believed that education should not be a rote memorization or strict discipline, but should instead foster curiosity, make it possible for them to explore, for moral development as well, and self-sufficiency and independence and autonomy. And so he asserted that by learning through direct experiences rather than authoritarian instructions by which the teacher, beats the child if he doesn't listen, the children would grow into independent and virtuous adults able to make decisions with integrity, able to judge from their experiences and cultivate themselves in the best of environments. One of the most famous quotes here is actually this line: the first sentiment of man is his existence, the second is his liberty. This idea, I think, reflects very well his ideas that freedom is a fundamental aspect of human nature, that education should cultivate rather than suppress this intrinsic liberty that all people have, that was also important in his previous book, The Social Contract. Yeah, and so he wanted a very free education by which the children could foster both their personal and moral growth instead of a very confined education for whatever purpose it was being done at the time. He was like, oh, that's pointless. We should have a naturalistic approach. And his ideas really profoundly influenced later educational reformers like John Dewey and Maria Montessori, both of whom promoted a very experiential and child-centered education. His advocacy for autonomy and moral development in education challenged traditional methods and paved the way for modern progressive educational practices. Let's look into his influence on later thinkers. He had a lot of philosophers and political thinkers that received a lasting impact from him. Many intellectuals across different schools of thoughts. One was Immanuel Kant. He was a German philosopher who was influenced by Rousseau's emphasis of human autonomy and dignity. While Kant developed his own kind of freedoms and moral philosophy, he echoed Rousseau's belief in individual morality, its agency, and self-governance. And so, yeah, they would later differ a lot on a lot of the key ideas, but had a fundamental agreement on universal morality and laws and ethics and how it is important to individuals. Another writer and thinker very different from Kant was Karl Marx. And Karl Marx was influenced by Rousseau's critique of private property and social inequality, very different from what Kant was influenced by, and this laid the groundwork for Marxist thought. Marx expanded on Rousseau's ideas by theorizing about class struggles and eventual establishments of classist societies. This would later become the ideological justification for a lot of the movements that became very controversial. And yeah, it all fundamentally stemmed from the idea of an egalitarian, completely free society by which standard all people were equal. Yeah, and so Rousseau's legacy is vast, and especially in political philosophy and education. It also influenced the leaders of the French Revolution that drew on directly from Rousseau's ideas of democratic governments and equality, using his ideas to justify their overthrow of the French monarchy. And we cannot say that all such overthrows, all such revolutions were just, that they were rightfully done, but some of them really was significant in shaping the democratic foundations for modern societies right now. His contributions just cannot be undermined in any way. And yeah, while some people did criticize Rousseau on his theories for being too idealistic and impractical, there's really no denying that profound influence his work has had on shaping the modern world. Yeah, from revolutionaries who sought to create more just societies to educators who emphasized student centered learning, Rousseau's legacy is really deeply embedded in the intellectual history of human civilization. Ultimately, I think Rousseau's work just reminds us that true freedom is not merely the absence of oppression, but the ability to live in society that upholds equality, participation, and the collective good. And he would influence lots of Enlightenment figures on this. He would be very different, however, from the intellectual climate at the time. He would raise a lot of revolutionary ideas, and I think this gives us a story of what we can do with our thoughts. Instead of conforming to the ideas at the time, instead of following the people, we can be something greater, we can be something better with revolution, with different ideas, with new approaches. And that's something that all us students, or all us, whoever we may be, all us citizens of the global society should look up to be doing each and every day. Yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you have some interest now into looking into Jean Jacques Rousseau. And if you had previous interests, that you're a bit more satisfied. Obviously, these videos don't cover the depth of his philosophy, and I would just definitely recommend that you look more into him, look into his ideas, and develop your own ideas and theories about him. Yeah, thank you so much. I hope you have a great, amazing day, and yeah, just continue to stay curious about these ideas. Thank you.